Captain Lord was unsuccessful in refuting numerous eyewitness accounts that had placed the Californian within a 10 to 12 mile radius of the sinking Titanic. Additionally, Cyril Evans, the Marconi wireless operator on board the Californian, gave damaging testimony regarding Lord's involvement. As a result of this contradictory evidence, Lord's testimony was received by the committee with a great deal of skepticism and doubt, and over time, Captain Lord, like J. Bruce Ismay, would be shunned by public opinion.
What is your full name and where do you reside?
Stanley Lord, Liverpool, England.
What age are you, Captain?
35, sir.
What is your business?
Master mariner.
How long have you been a mariner?
20 years.
Did you attempt to communicate with the vessel Titanic on Sunday?
Yes, sir.
At what time of day?
At 10 minutes to 11.
What was that communication?
We told them we were stopped and surrounded by ice.
Did the Titanic acknowledge that message?
Yes, sir. I believe he told the operator that he had read it and told him to shut up or stand by or something, that he was busy.
Did you have further communication with the Titanic?
Not at all, sir.
Did the Titanic have any further communication with you?
No, sir.
Do you know the Titanic's position on the sea when she sank?
I know the position given to me by the Virginia as the position where she struck an iceberg, 41 degrees 56 minutes and 50 degrees 14 minutes.
Figuring from the Titanic's position at the time she went down and your position at the time you sent this warning to the Titanic, how far were these vessels from one another?
From the position we stopped in to the position at which the Titanic is supposed to have hit the iceberg, 19.5 to 19.75 miles.
Did the Titanic officer answer at once the message sent by you?
I believe he did.
Do you know what time the Titanic sent out this CQD call?
No, sir, I do not.
What time did you receive it?
6 o'clock, sir.
A.M.?
A.M. on the 15th.
What is the average speed of the California under fair conditions?
On our present consumption, we average 11 in fine weather.
In case of distress, I suppose it would be possible for you to exceed that considerably.
Oh, we made 13 and 13.5 the day we were going down to the Titanic.
Were you under full speed then?
We were driving all we could.
When you notified the Titanic that you were in the ice, how much ice were you in?
Well, we were surrounded by a lot of loose ice, and we were about a quarter of a mile off the edge of the field.
Were there any icebergs in view?
No, I could not see that. Not then.
This ice that you were in was field ice?
Field ice.
And how large an area, in your judgment, would it cover?
I suppose about 25 miles long and from 1 to 2 miles wide.
How badly were you interfered with by the ice on Sunday evening?
We stopped altogether.
When did you notify the Titanic of your condition? What was your purpose?
It was just a matter of courtesy. I thought he would be a long way from where we were. By rights, he ought to have been 18 or 19 miles to the southward of where I was. I never thought the ice was stretching that far down.
You gave him this information?
Just as a matter of courtesy. We always pass news around when we get a hold of anything like that.
Do you know anything regarding the Titanic disaster of your knowledge? Did you see the ship on Sunday?
No, sir.
Or any signals from her?
Not from the Titanic.
Was the Titanic beyond your range of vision?
I should think so. 19.5 or 20 miles away.
How long did it take you to reach the scene of the accident from the time you steamed up and got underway Monday morning?
From the time we received the message of the Titanic's position?
Yes.
I will read this from the logbook. 6 o'clock. Proceeded slow, pushing through thick ice. 6:20. Clear of thickest ice. Proceeded full speed, pushing the ice. 8:30. Stopped close to steamship Carpathia.
Was the Carpathia at the time at the scene of the wreck?
Yes, sir. She was taking the last of the people out of the boat.
Then from 6 o'clock in the morning, you were under steam in the direction of the Titanic for 2.5 hours?
Yes, sir.
If you had received the CQD distress call from the Titanic on Sunday evening after your communication with the Titanic, how long, under the conditions which surrounded you, would it have taken you to have reached the scene of the catastrophe?
At the very least, 2 hours.
2 hours?
Yeah, at the very least. The way the ice was packed around us, and it being night time.
It took the Carpathia about 4 hours to reach the scene of the Titanic's accident after they received word.
So I understand.
You were about 20 miles away?
19.5 to 20 miles from the position given me by the Titanic.
At the hour the Titanic sank.
We were about 19.5 to 20 miles away.
And the Carpathia was 53 miles away?
Yes, sir.
How long after the Carpathia reached the scene of the accident did you reach the scene?
Well, I don't know what time we got there.
Did you see any of the wreckage when you got there?
Yes, sir.
Tell the committee what you saw.
I saw several empty boats, some floating planks, a few deck chairs and cushions. But considering the size of the disaster, there was very little wreckage. It seemed more like an old fishing boat that had sunk.
Did you see any persons, dead or alive?
No, sir.
How long did you remain in the vicinity of the wreck?
11:20, we proceeded on our course.
And you reached there at what hour?
At 8:30, sir.
During that time, what did you do?
I talked to the Carpathia until 9 o'clock. Then he left. Then we went full speed in circles over a radius. That is, I took a big circle and then came around and got back to the boats again where I'd left them.
I asked you whether you saw any icebergs while you were making that circle.
I was practically surrounded by them.
How large were the largest, in your judgment, above the water?
Well, I suppose the largest was 150 feet, 100 to 150 feet.
From your observations or study as a mariner familiar with the sea, do you know of any rule by which you may determine the proportion of an iceberg underwater?
No. I've always heard it was 7/8, but I do not know any rule.
That is, if 100 feet of an iceberg protrudes above the water, there would be 7 times as much of the same iceberg below the surface of the water?
So I understand, yes, sir.
Captain, during Sunday, when you were in the vicinity of ice, did you give any special instructions to your wireless operator?
No, sir.
You had but one operator, had you?
That is all.
Do you know whether your wireless operator was on duty Sunday night after you sent the warning message to the Titanic?
I do not think he was.
Then you are unable to say whether an attempt was made to communicate with the California.
No, I do not know as to that. I went past his room at 11:45, and there was no light on in there.
Does that indicate that he was out or asleep?
That would indicate that he was asleep. As a rule, there is always a light on in the accumulator burning when he's not asleep.
Did you have any hours particularly prescribed to him by yourself or anyone else after you became aware of your proximity to ice?
No.
Suppose your wireless operator had been in the operating room when the CQD call of distress came out from the Titanic, which was received by the Carpathia and other ships. Would your ship have been apprised of the distress of the Titanic? I mean, have you such a wireless apparatus on your ship as would have in all probability caught the message?
Most certainly.
I simply want to ask, Captain, whether the wireless operator had any regular hours or not. If so, what were they?
No. I do not think there are any regular hours. I understand they are usually around from 7 in the morning to 2:30, and then I think they lie down, because I never, as a rule, receive any messages between 2:30 and 4. I presume they are asleep.
You think it is better to have 2 operators on every ship, do you, so as to have continuous service?
It would be nicer. You would never miss a message then.
On that Sunday night when you were stopped by the ice, were you hemmed in by it, or was your ship floating about?
We were just floating about.
Could you have gone to the relief of the Titanic at that time?
Most certainly.
You could have gone?
We could have gone, yes.
The engines were not running then?
The engines were stopped. Perfectly stopped.
Did you keep lookout men on duty after your engines were stopped?
A man on the lookout? Only one. The man in the crow's nest.
Captain, did you see any distress signals on Sunday night, either rockets or the Morse signals?
No, sir, I did not. The officer on watch saw some signals, but he said they were not distress signals.
But he reported them.
I think you'd better let me tell you that story.
I wish you would.
I came off the bridge at 10:30. I pointed out to the officer that I thought I saw a light coming along, and it was a most particular light, and we'd been making mistakes all along with the stars, thinking they were signals. We couldn't distinguish where the stars ended and where the water commenced. You understand, it was flat calm. He said he thought it was a star, and I did not say anything more. I went down below. I was talking with the engineer about keeping the steam ready, and we saw these signals coming along, and I said, "There's a steamer coming. Let us go to the wireless and see what the news is." But on our way down, I met the operator, and I said, "Do you know anything?" He said, "The Titanic." So then I gave him instructions to let the Titanic know. I said, "This is not the Titanic. There is no doubt about it." She came and lay at 11:30 alongside of us until, I suppose, 1:15, within 4 miles of us. We could see everything on her quite distinctly, see her lights. We signalled her at 11:30 with Morse lamp. She did not take the slightest notice of it. That was between 11:30 and 20 minutes to 12. We signalled her again at 10 minutes past 12, 12:30, 1:45, and 1 o'clock. We have a very powerful Morse lamp. I suppose you can see that about 10 miles, and she was about 4 miles off, and she did not take the slightest notice of it. When the second officer came to the bridge at 12 o'clock, or 10 minutes past 12, I told him to watch that steamer, which was stopped, and I pointed out the ice to him. Told him we were surrounded by ice. To watch the steamer, that we did not get any closer to her. At 20 minutes to 1, I whistled up the speaking tube and asked him if she's getting any nearer. He said, "No, she's not taking any notice of us." So I said, I will go down and lie down a bit. At 1:15, he said, "I think she's fired a rocket." He said she did not answer the Morse lamp, and she's commenced to go away from us. I said, "Call her up and let me know what her name is." So he went and put the whistle back, and apparently he was calling. I could hear him ticking over my head. Then I went to sleep.
You heard nothing more about it?
Nothing more until something between then and 4:30. I have a faint recollection of the apprentice opening my room door, opening it and shutting it. I said, "What is it?" He did not answer, and I went back to sleep again. I believe the boy came down to deliver the message that this steamer had steamed away from us to the southwest, showing several of these flashes or white rockets, steamed away to the southwest.
The rockets that are used are for the same purpose and are understood, are they not, among mariners?
As being distress rockets?
Yes.
Oh, yes. You never mistake a distress rocket.
Suppose the Morse signals and the rockets were displayed and exploded on the Titanic continuously for a half to 3/4 of an hour after she struck ice. Would you, from the position of your ship on a night like Sunday night, have been able to see those signals?
We could not have seen her Morse code. That is an utter impossibility.
Could you have seen rockets?
I do not think so. 19.5 miles is a long ways. It would have been way down on the horizon. It might have been mistaken for a shooting star or anything at all.
Let me ask you a question with reference to that steamer you saw 4 miles away. What was her position in reference to your ship?
Pretty near south of us. 4 miles to the south.
As to being on the starboard or port side?
Well, on our ordinary course was west, true, but on seeing ice we were so close we had to reverse the engines and put her full speed astern, and the action of reversing turned the ship to starboard, and we were heading about northeast, true. When this man was coming along, he was showing his green light on our starboard side, before midnight. After midnight, we slowly blew around and showed him our red light.
Were you able to tell what kind of ship it was?
We were of the opinion that it was an ordinary steamer.
From the log which you hold in your hand, and from your knowledge, is there anything you can say further which will assist the committee in its inquiry as to the causes of this catastrophe?
No, sir, there is nothing. Only that it was a very deceiving night. That is all I can say about that.